QuickBooks Online 2025, bundling up reports after first month of data input so that we can present them to clients in a thoughtful way. Get ready and some coffee because we're learning how to save time with QuickBooks Online 2025. Here we are in our QuickBooks Online Get Great Guitars 2025 Project 5. We set up in a prior presentation opening those major financial statement reports. Located on the left-hand side, we're in the Standard Reports tab, Favorites section. Right-clicking on the Balance Sheet to open a link in a new tab. Right-clicking on the Profit and Loss, otherwise known as that Income Statement, to also open a link in a new tab. Let's tab to that middle Balance Sheet tab. Close the hamburger. We're in the Modern View mode. Selecting the drop-down in that mode so that we can have a Custom Dates, and then tab 010125, tab 013125. It's refreshing automatically. I'm going to close this to give us a little bit more visual room. Let's go to the tab to the right. Repeat the process. We need the hamburger to be closed, por favor. Selecting the drop down so that we can be picking the Custom Dates tab. Going from 010125 tab, 013125 tab. It's already refreshed, so we're going to close this up to once again give us a little bit more room. Now thinking about how we might want to present these reports, batch these reports, provide these reports to somebody else. Our main view being as though we are a bookkeeper providing this information to a client, but you have similar kind of thought processes anytime you're doing any kind of accounting work, whether it being for your business or if you're working in a business doing accounting. You got to batch the reports in some way, provide them or present them to somebody, whether that be the client, whether that be the CPA firm, whether that be your supervisor. We're going to frame this, however, as though we're a bookkeeper dealing with a client. Now, the first thing that might come to mind is you might say, hey, well, the client has access to QuickBooks Online. I don't need to give them the reports. I just do the data input and they can generate whatever reports they want. And that's true and that's fine. However, you might still want to bundle up the reports periodically because that's going to show the client which reports they might want to be emphasizing. You can batch the reports in a way they might not be able to do, such as having comparative type reports and summary types of reports, and simply doing the presentation of saying, hey, look, I've done the work and now I'm showing it to you in a thoughtful type of way. The presentation matters, just as though if we're a student and we're basically have a crumpled piece of paper that we turn into the teacher, then even if it has the best essay on it ever that not even ChatGPT could write, then they still might not get a good grade because it looks crappy. Similarly with accounting, most of the time we're presenting information, particularly if we're a bookkeeper, to people that don't understand bookkeeping, and therefore presentation, their confidence level, just simply confidence, is what they need. They need to know that you're going to be there, that you're going to provide the information at the end of the year, in particular when they need it, at least for tax preparation. Now, if you're giving this information to the CPA firm, they are, of course, an expert in accounting, and therefore just providing them with the QuickBooks file might be all you need to do in that case. If you're working in a company situation, then it depends. Are you giving your information to a supervisor in the accounting department who knows in detail what's happening? Then they already can go into the system, not a big deal. But if you're providing this information to other departments in the corporation, such as advertising and marketing, and the CEO, possibly the admin, might not understand the financials as well, in which case you need to be thoughtful in terms of how exactly am I going to present this information with similar concerns as though we're presenting to a client. But we're going to imagine we're in a client type of situation. First idea would be, how often do I want to present them with this information? Because if I do the data input, maybe I give them monthly reports and say, here's my monthly reports. Maybe I bill them on a monthly basis, in which case that would be a good time to give them the reports anyways. One of those reports possibly being the thing that I bill based on, because instead of billing based on hours, I might bill based on how many transactions were input or possibly on how many accounts were impacted. Or I might say, well, look, I only really need to bill people on a quarterly basis. So maybe I only bill them I only give them reports 4 times a month so that I have quarterly basis reports. So it's not a little less tedious on a monthly basis. Or possibly you're just going to do it on a yearly basis because you need it for your tax preparation. But I would think a monthly or quarterly basis would basically be the way to go. All right, if we're going to give the reports to someone, how could we give them to the person? Well, we could give them access to the QuickBooks, but again, that's not going to give them the actual generated and processed reports. They're going to have to build them themselves. Or we can create them and then give it to our clients as a PDF file, attaching it possibly to an email, in which case we can have multiple attachments to the email, or possibly put that information into a folder so they can at least have one attachment. We can download them as PDF files and then provide clients access to it with some kind of cloud drive system, such as a OneDrive or something like that, or put it on like an Amazon, any kind of the drives that they give access to the folder so they can access it, which might be a little bit nicer because then we can organize the files. We could try to put the files on one PDF form instead of multiple reports, in which case we could have a tool that there's an internal tool under reports, which is the manage reports. So that's an attempt to basically be able to pull the reports into one report. That's cool, although there's a little bit of limitations in terms of the presentation of those reports. So you could test that out. We have a prior course or section that goes into that in a little bit more detail. Or we can try to export them to Excel, allowing us a little bit more ability to format the reports, possibly then adding a cover page and so on, either in Excel or combining that with Word, and then use a cute PDF printer or some kind of PDF printer to print the reports from Excel all on one PDF file, which gives you, I think, the most customization generally, but is more tedious to do. So those are our trade-offs. All right, let's first think about what kind of reports that we would want to be generating. So we have a balance sheet report and an income statement. Those would be the standard 2 reports. But you might want like a basic balance sheet to start off with. So if I go to the first tab and I go down to the reports and then the standard reports, they have this balance sheet summary, which might be a little bit nicer to start with. Where did it go? Here it is, balance sheet summary. So I'm going to right click on that and open that report. Now this one is going to give you, let's close up the hamburger. It's going to give you just the account types. Let's go to the date range and make it a custom report, tab 010125, tab 013125 tab, and then I'll close up this for now. So this gives us a simplified report because it basically, instead of putting all of the accounts in there, it groups it by account type, bank accounts, accounts receivable, and so on and so forth. So if you're given a presentation to non-numbers people, this one might be the place to start, even though you want to get into more detail possibly, because hopefully this will not overwhelm them right off the bat, right from the beginning. So now I might do some general customization to the report. Let's see if I can figure out in the modern view. I'm going to open this back up again, and then let's go into the general options. And then within the general options, I might want to make the negative numbers, let's say, instead of looking this way, I'm going to try to put them bracketed and make them red. I might have that as a general option. And then I might say on my headers and footers, that looks good. On the footer, maybe I get rid of the footer, date, time prepared, and report basis, so it doesn't have a footer on it. So there's nothing on the footer down below. And then maybe that's my general kind of system for external reports. Maybe I don't want the pennies too. Let's open this back up, and like for external reporting, maybe I don't need the pennies. So round amounts to the nearest whole. Let's go with this one. All right, that makes it a little bit cleaner possibly to see, to view with no pennies on it. So now I'm gonna basically export this report, and I'm gonna save it as a PDF. and I'm going to export it to Excel. All right, so let's go up top, and we're going to say, okay, I'm going to go into this item, more actions, and then I'm going to save it as a PDF. So I'm going to print or save it, and they're still kind of getting this modern view locked in here. So, but it looks like this is the one they're going to go with. So I'm trying to work within this modern view and not go to the classic view, which I still know a little bit better right now. So here's what it looks like there. So let's go ahead and save it as a PDF. So now it's saving it as a PDF. I'm going to put it into this folder. So here it is. Boom, that's what it looks like. I'm going to put it into this folder. So I'm going to copy the location. And then maybe I'll just save this. Or maybe I'll do it this way. I'll close this out. And then I'll pull that in to my folder. So I'm going to say there's the little drop down. I'll just pull this in. Boom. So now it's in my folder here. Boom. Now I want that to be the first report. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to rename it and put a 1 next to it. So that when I have all these reports in one folder, it's going to be in order that I want it to be in order with a numbering system. I'm going to close this out. I can also export it to Excel. So I'm going to export it to Excel. Let's open up Excel here. Well, let's do it this way, actually. I'm going to pull Excel into my folder and then open it up. Let's do it that way. So I'm going to say, pull it into my folder, and then I'm going to rename it. I'm going to right click and rename it to just month and reports for, let's say 01.3125. And this is where I want to put all of my reports so that I can then use Excel to print them in one area. I'm going to hit the drop down so that I could see the ribbon. All right, so there's a little bit of formatting you can see that we need to do here. So I'm going to deal with that later, but that's the general idea. It's interesting that they added this over here. I don't think that's fairly new. I don't think they were doing that just a little while ago as we've been making this course. So that's kind of cool. So you're able to do the filters on the left-hand side. So I'm going to minimize this. Now the other thing so now I have it in those two formats. I can also go in here. Now I want to memorize the report, and I don't think they have that yet in the modern view mode. So I'd have to go to the classic view still, switch to the classic view in order to save the customization. So I'm going to save the customization, and I'm going to say the report, I'm going to call it a number 1 because I want to number it in my reports. And then I'm going to make a new group, and I'm going to call it, these are the month and reports, so that now it'll save the customization. I'm going to add that and put that into month-end reports and save it. So now if I go to the first tab and I go into my custom reports, let's refresh the screen up top and see if it pulls in here. Should pull in. I'm going to then close the ham boogie once again. There it is. So it pulls in here. And now now I could go to the manage reports and then edit one of these management reports and pull that information in to my reports here. So I'm not gonna get into this functionality in detail, but we have another course or section that we went into this in a little bit more detail. So you could go in here and use this as a way to get everything on one PDF file to make it look a little cleaner. But again, you have a little less functionality than if you used the Excel format that we're going to look at. So you should be able to figure this one out fairly easily once you get this information organized, because then you could just pull these reports in, and I would recommend making those custom reports, and then you can pull the custom reports into that Manage Report tab. All right, let's go back to the first one. Let's open up another balance sheet and then customize it. So I'm going to right click, open up another balance sheet. So now instead of using this for internal reporting, I could now use it for the external reporting. Now, if this was not the first month of operations, then I might want to run like comparative reports. So So if it was the first month, I can't really compare it to the prior month in the current year, obviously, if it's a month of January. But I could compare it to the previous year. So January of the first year to the January of the previous year. And all I'd have to do that is just go in here and go to the previous year. So this is where you can construct comparative reports, which we'll talk more a little bit after we do the second month of reports. But these are the things that QuickBooks is trying to give us in some of the reports, which you can easily do yourself, which is better to do because you can imagine all of the different combinations of comparative reports you can have once you have a few years of operations, meaning I could compare the current month to the prior month. I could compare the current quarter to the prior quarter. I could compare the current month to the prior year, same month, the current quarter to the prior year of the same quarter, and so on and so forth. All right, so I'm going to close this out. Now notice if I have this balance sheet, let's change the dates again. Custom dates. I'm going to make this go from 01/01/25 to 01/31/25, and then it's refreshing automatically. Now this information is going to give us repeated data as this one. All the information on this balance sheet is already here. So the question is, do I need the summary balance sheet, or do I just want to give the one balance sheet with more detail? Depends, right? If the summary balance sheet's a little bit cleaner, so you might want both of them. These are just questions you might want to put together as you think of the general package of reports that you're going to give on a periodic basis. So let's do our standard customization for this one. I'm going to say display and not display. Let's go to general. And I'm going to say this one is just going to be my normal balance sheet. So now I'm going to say I want to round it. I want the negative numbers to be bracketed red. And then I'm going to say on the header, on the footer, date, time, report, basis, I'm going to remove. And that's my general external reporting format. And so then I can select the drop down and say I'm just going to export this one or print it. Let's print it. And I'm going to say, all right, save it. And then I'm going to pull that into my report here. And I'm going to say boom. And so then I'm just going to rename that. Right click, rename, call it number 2. So it's in order. So I want you to open that one and then that one if you want to give it to your client this way. So I can close that up and close this up. And then I can also export it to Excel. Select the drop down, export to Excel. I'm going to open it up this time, but it's in a new tab now, and I want to move it to the other tab, to the reports I've already have open. So now it's open here. I'm going to enable editing, and then I want to go on to this tab. I have the other reports open. Right click. I'm going to move or copy, create a copy, select the drop down. I want to put it into what did I have open before? The balance sheet summary. It's still called that. Let's say OK and see if that's where it goes. So there it is. So it moved it over here. I'm going to pull this to the right. And now I've got my 2 tabs. The first one I'm going to call BS summary. And the second one I'm just going to call BS for balance sheet. And so there it is. Now, again, in here, I won't get into formatting a lot. But notice how much more formatting options you have. I'm going to select this tab and then go back on over. And it's crowded on the left-hand side, which is kind of a problem. But you can fix that by just adjusting the cells so it's kind of centered. You could make a column on each side. And then again, you could do a whole lot more formatting this way to format the reports if you want to do that, or add grid lines if you want to do that or something. So I'm not going to get into detail with it, but I just note there's a lot of formatting you could do. I could do a similar thing over here. Say, let me see where the line is. It's way over there. So I could make this really large. So now it expands across the whole report page, and then make the header, black and white or whatever I want to do. And then if I go to the first tab and I go to print, now I can print using the Qt PDF file, which will print it to a PDF. And if I do the entire workbook, I have the 2 that I can print out on the same PDF file using this format. All right, let's do the next one and say, okay, what if I wanted a vertical analysis balance sheet? Well, let's keep it there for now. Let's go to the income statement. So I go to the reports again. Let's open another profit and loss report. And you could try to do a summary balance sheet again. On this one, let's hit the drop down, a summary income statement by going, let's go to a custom date, go from 01/01/25 to 01/31/25. And then like I could try to collapse these accounts so I just have like a summary income statement. But I'm going to just do the normal income statement here. And that's what we'll start off with, and just give the normal income statement. And I'm going to select, and by the way, if you had a lot of subcategories, that's when you might want to like collapse the subcategories and give a more basic income statement, and then possibly follow that up with a more complex one. And this one too, this balance sheet, I should go to the classic mode before I do. I should go to the classic mode, and then I'm gonna. Did I customize this thing? I didn't even customize it, did I? Did I not customize it over here? I didn't. Oh man. Well, I should have customized it. Here's the customize in the old one. I made negative numbers. I didn't get rid of the pennies. That's what I didn't do. So I should have got rid of the pennies. But anyways, let's save customization. And then I'm going to make this number 2. I'm going to put it into my group, save it, so that next time I do the reports next month, if I go into the first tab and I go into my custom reports and refresh it, because it's in a different tab, it didn't see it pull in yet. Closing up the hamburger, there's our reports in order in this group. So I can just next month generate them, adjust the reports, or pull them into the management report if that's what I want to do. All right, let's go back on over here. I'm going to say that we want to go to the general. I want to round. So I did that this time. Negative numbers bracketed, red footers. I'm going to get rid of the date, time, report basis. All right, so there's that. I'm going to close that out. So that looks good. And okay, and then I could export that one. So I'm going to save it as a PDF. So let's do that. Boom. So I'm going to save it as a PDF, pull that in to here. Did it save it that time? Now it did it different. Let's do that again. I'm going to save it as a PDF, save and print. And this time, when I save it, there it is. Close this up, pull that in. And this is going to be number 3, right click. I'm going to call it 3 so that when I give this to a client, it's nice and lined up there. And then I'm going to close this out, and then I'm going to export it as an Excel worksheet so I can see how, I'll show you how you could do it this way. Open it up so that I can then copy it over. So it's going to open up, enable the editing, and then before I do anything to it, I'm going to right click on it and move it and create a copy in this one, the first one. Boom. And then I can close up the other one. I don't need this one anymore. I don't need this one anymore. Okay, and then I'm going to pull this to the right, double click. I'm going to just call it income statement, IS. And then I'm going to go boom, boom, and then open this up so it goes to, expands to the whole sheet, something like that. And then I can customize the top if I want, do whatever I want to it, and boom. So now we have the income statement. Let's save this one. Okay, and then let's go back on over. And so maybe I also want a vertical analysis income statement. That's one of the reports they gave us, but we can build it, right? We can make one. It's better to build it. So if I go back on over here again, or let's go here again, and let's go to the classic view, and then save customization. And then I'm going to put this into, this is going to be number 3, I'm going to say, Boom. And that'll save it once again internally here. So closing the hamburger. All right, so there's that. Let's go to the first tab again. And then now we'll say, let's open up another profit and loss. I'm going to pull that to the right. And this time, let's make a vertical analysis one. So I'm going to select close the hamburger. Range needs to be going from tab 010125 to 013125. And then we're going to say that I want to do is it on the display? Comparative. Here it is. I want to do a percent of row, percent of income. That's the one. All right. And so now everything, this is called what I would call a vertical analysis. Everything's compared. Everything is compared to income. So everything is being compared to what we do the report for, which is income generation. So that's a very common thing to do. And you would also possibly have a horizontal analysis, which we might do after the second month of operations to get an idea of that. But since we only have 1 month, we'll do this one. So this is a vertical analysis. And then let's go to our display once again. Not display, general. And then I'm going to get rid of the pennies, negative numbers, show red. And this time on the header, I'm going to say I want to change the name. I think I could just click in here and change it to, I'm going to say vertical analysis. Does it have a spell check in here? Yeah, analysis, income statement. I could keep it all at profit and loss analysis. Vertical analysis, something like that. Okay, and so boom. Okay, and so then we have that, and we got rid of the pennies. So let's go that, and then let's go ahead and save that as a PDF. Save it, and then I'll pull that over into my reports again. Pull that over into my reports, and then I'll call that rename numero cuatro. That's number 4 for you stupid gringos. I'm just kidding. I'm a gringo. So we're gonna hit the drop down, and we're gonna say let's export to Excel too. And let's open this one this time. I'll open this one up and enable editing. And then I'm going to right click on the tab to move it. And we're going to select the drop down to the summary report. Okay. Boom. Let's close the last one. We don't need that no more. Don't need that no more. Okay, so let's pull this to the right. And this is going to be double click income statement vert analysis or something like that. And then let's check it out. I didn't get rid of the footer, but I can clean it up here. Just delete. And I didn't get rid of, what happened here? I thought I got rid of the pennies and the footer. Okay, I'm not going to get upset with it right now. Something is wrong. It's got pennies in it. All right, I'm going to let it go right now. I'm going to open this up. We ain't got time for that. I'm going to right click and delete this bit. I don't think I need that. All right, and then we'll make this black and white. Okay. I wonder why it pulled in the pennies. Is it, doesn't have any pennies over here? I don't know. But I could clean it up in Excel if I needed to, but that's weird. Anyway, that was number 4. So then I'm going to go to switch to the modern view and then save customization. Oh, wait a sec. switch to classic view, then save customization and then I'm going to call this number 4 vertical analysis income statement. Put it into our group. Boom. All right, let's just do one more, and that's going to be, you possibly want to be giving the statement of cash flows, even if people don't understand what that is even that much. Some people do, some people don't, but it's a standard report. So if you don't give it to someone, they're like, you didn't give me one of the major financial statement. So it's like, okay, let's close up the hand boogie and let's just do a range change. This one is in the classic view by default, 010125 tab 013125. Run it to refresh it. Let's go ahead and customize it. Let's just do our customization without pennies and negative numbers bracketed, header and footer, date, time, report basis removed. No, I want the company name and the report title. I want the date and the time to be removed. Okay. Report period. Do I want that? I think I do. I think I messed it up. Okay. So that's good. Okay. So then let's go ahead and save this one, which is now located here. Let's go ahead and print it and then save as a PDF. And then I'll pull that over here. And then we'll rename it here. Right click and rename. And then we're going to say this is going to be number 5. And then I'll close this out. And then I'll stop saying that. And then I do that. And then I'm going to open up the report and enable editing. Right click on the tab, move it, copy it to this one. Okay. Close the one I just had open so I don't have like 100 tabs open at the same time. Drag it to the right, format it so I can view it, view this, view that, and then it's good. So I'm going to save it like this, black and white, do whatever editing I want to do. And then I can go back on over here and I want to say that this is going to be number 5 report. So let's save customization. Make it number 5, boom, and then put it into my group, bam, save it. So if I go back to the first tab in my custom reports, now I've got this beautiful custom report. So next time I do this, this will be way easier, dude, because I can just open them up like one by one and then just change the date, or I could pull it into my management report. And I can do it that way. Now that I have my reports over here, I could then take all these reports most likely and want to put them into a file, like a file that I can provide to the client. So if I give it to them on a OneDrive, this would be great because now they're in order. At least they're not on one PDF, but they're in order. So that's nice. Or if I'm going to email them to the client, I possibly want to put them in a folder called reports or something for January 2025, so that when they open the email, they don't have to open 5 different reports, but instead I put that into the one folder, and then I can't attach a folder, but I can attach a zipped folder, so then I can simply compress the folder, which, how do you do that again? Compress, zip the file. So if I want to send it as an attachment, then I have a zipper file. That's good. What if I want to put it all on one PDF? Well, I can either pull these reports into the management report, or I can take my Excel, which gives me a little bit more formatting functionality, but takes a little bit more work, meaning I can even go in here and format like the numbers and whatnot to put a different font in it, and I can put grid lines and everything I want to do. I can add a title page. I can integrate it to Word if I wanted to do, although all that is not totally automatic, and I'd have to do it again every time I do the reports, which once you get good at it, it's not too hard to do, but that's the trade-off. So I won't get into the details of that right now, but once I'm done with that, I could go to the first tab and print it using some kind of PDF printer. This one's a free one, I believe. I'm not advertising for them, but that's what I've been using for some time, and it's been useful. I can print the entire worksheet instead of just the active sheet, and then here's what it's going to look like. So you can see it's a little bit different of formatting, but it looks good. And again, you have a lot of more options to format it. And if you format things just a little bit different than other people, other bookkeepers, just like a little bit different font, it really goes a long way for people to be like, oh, that's even just putting it all on one PDF file. Most people don't even know how to do that, right? So if you do that, then people are like, that person is smart. I want to do. They either want to do business with you or they want to kill you for being good at stuff. So let's go ahead and say, okay, let's save it, and then. All right, so there it is. So now if I open this one up, you can see the PDF looks a little bit different, but now I can provide this to an email, and it's all on one email, like one file, or I can still give them access to this on a OneDrive or however I want to provide it to them, or I can print it all out on one item. So those are some ways that you want to package it. Remember, presentation is important if you're a bookkeeper, especially if the client isn't good at bookkeeping and they're completely trusting you as though you're a patient at a doctor's office. Don't betray the trust as our professionals have done thus far in so many areas. We want to try to actually look and actually be trustworthy. Presentation matters to do that.